My name's Dave Dubeau, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, welcome back. Today our special guest is Charles Carillo, zooming in from beautiful South Florida. And Charles is a very experienced real estate investor. He's been in the game, I believe, since 2006, specifically in multifamily, and since I think 2018 in the syndication space as well. Charles is a very, very busy guy. Not only is he actively investing in real estate, he passively invests in real estate. He's got podcasts, he's got training, he's got all sorts of stuff going on. And we're going to take a deep dive into his secret sauce, which is being picky about the kind of deals that he and his investors invest in. So Charles, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dave. It's great to be here.
So as we're recording this, we're getting towards mid-year 2025 already. My God, time flies. So give us a little snapshot. What does your portfolio currently look like? What are you invested in? What's your buy box? What are your favorite kind of markets? As far as like your syndication business goes, not you as a passive investor, but the syndication business.
Yeah, sure. So us as active syndicating investors, I would say our buy box right now is I'd say 80 to 100 unit plus. I would really want to focus on like Central Florida and also in Greater Atlanta. Our portfolio right now is we have a large deal in DFW. We have another one in Atlanta. We have another one we just sold, or one we just had we sold in Tampa. So, I mean, it's been, that's really where we are now. We have two main deals that we're working on. We've sold out the rest and looking for additional deals, but we've been on since 2022, we've been really offloaded 5 or 6 different properties. So it's been something like as our numbers come around, selling them, and we just refinanced another one. So kind of, it's kind of tough with working with what happened with interest rates. But
yeah, it's been a rocky road for the last few years, not just for you, but for everybody in this space. That's definitely for sure. So
we've been very lucky with the properties we've bought. But yeah, that's kind of our buy box. I would say then 1985, 1990 newer in those areas. You know what I mean? That's kind of what we're looking for. And then drilling down even more than that. But we can get into that. But that's kind of the overall higher view.
Cool, Charles. So the question I like to ask syndicators, especially experienced folks like yourself, because you've been in the game, maybe not in syndication, but you've been in multifamily for a long time, almost 20 years now. After this, massive high and then massive low, the tumultuous experience of the last few years, what have you taken away from that? And what if anything, are you going to modify on your approach moving ahead?
That's a great question. I would say one of the things is that when you have like unprecedented rent growth, there's going to be some sort of calming of the storm, you know what I mean, coming down, and there's going to be some kind of leveling out, which we're going through right now because people invested that went through 2021 with their properties, it went up. And if you bought after 2021, well, it's pretty stagnant since. But I think what we have is multifamily is a solid asset class. It's it's probably one of the most seasoned asset classes of hundreds and hundreds of years. You know what I mean? People renting properties. So I see that it is definitely a great asset class to be in. But I also see that when we're going forward over the next few years, we've had a lot of a big drop in new deliveries, and we're going to have that continuing until probably 2027, 2028. So what that shows me for investors that are in it is it brings people back when you go through one of these. It brings people back to what a mentor told me once was like the 10-year law of like real estate investing, right?
Cycle.
You got to buy properties, you got to keep them for 10 years. If you start screwing with that a little bit and start trying to get cute and get it down, that's where you're really bringing on a lot of risk. You know what I mean? And if you can hold them for 10 years, whether you have the right debt, which is what a lot of people didn't have, right?
Yeah.
And then if you have the right business plan in general, right? Reserve fund, everything else that goes with it, then you're able to, once you hold that property, you're gonna be able to be ahead of the game at that point. Now, I think the problem was that what's changing now is that with the cost of goods, what we were renovating when we started syndicating properties, 5, 6 years ago, what happened is that now it's 2x, 3x the cost, right, for renovating. So we would do a platinum unit for $6,000, and now that's 12, eighteen
Wow.
thousand, depending on it. Our top one back in the day was like $7 or $8,000. You know what I mean? And now it's like, the
Now,
full
is that just
renovation.
cost of goods, cost of labor, both? What are you seeing the biggest increase
Um,
in price coming
I would
from?
say cost of goods, cost of goods.
Really?
It's
Mhm.
labors too. It's very difficult. People that we've worked with consistently have gone up in price dramatically. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's really where you want to be having those people work on your properties versus someone new that might you don't know what's going to happen, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely.
it's one of those things. So working with in some of the markets that we really focus on with some of the partners that we have there when we're doing properties, you're paying more, but you know that you're getting a good product. The thing now is what we've been really playing with since like mid 2022, 2023 is when we're doing value add product, deals, and we used to have, okay, we're gonna do X amount of units per month, right?
Right.
And then we saw as our slowdown, people were kind of tightening up their belts a little bit. So now it's like, okay, so cut that X in half and then figure out exactly when we do the units over, how fast they are to rent, what's the
Mhm.
appetite for them out there, and then kind of change around what it is. So instead of doing, like we were talking about the full renovations, maybe we're just doing half or a third, or maybe we're cleaning and painting and re-renting. And then you kind
Right.
of see exactly, and that's kind of where we are right now when you're in this. I feel this part of the market cycle, and going forward, then what we're going to have, I think, is that when we get back on that, because it's easy when the market's going up. You can
Yeah,
pour
yeah.
as much money into it because you put in one thing, and out comes this rent increase on the other end. And no matter what it is, people are renting. There's no issues. The problem is now you have to be really focused when the market's not going straight up. It's something where the management really shows. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's where you see exactly how the properties are operated. You start seeing vacancies. I see with past investments that I've made before, that I'm in right now, and you start seeing when their management's not good. You can see that it's like, okay, why is occupancy going into the 80s and stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy to make money when everything goes up. It's difficult when you're like, okay, we have to actually focus on renovating units, minimizing having cutting down that time from can we rent this the downtime of this unit, can we cut off like a week or two versus before it didn't matter because you're renting it for two, three, four, $500 more a month. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
if it's vacant for another 2 weeks or so. But now it's like we need them to cruise in, cruise out, and rent it. And now everything has to work really, really,
And are you still able to get that bump in rent after renovations like you were before? Or is that has that slowed down significantly as well?
we're getting it, but it's not as much of an appetite as we found in the markets that we're working in. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's
It's
tougher,
like,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You'll have people that want it, but the problem is that people that are asking or requesting or looking to rent those are going to go to the new product that's been put on in the
Yeah.
last 3 years. So that's where the issue happens. If I have we have a couple different properties built in the 80s right now. So if I have a property built in 1985 and they're going to look at a property that, was built in 2018, right, or 2022, whatever it might be, obviously, and there are those with so much new product coming on, the only thing that new developers have when those come on is concessions, right? Give away
Right.
month, give away 3 months, give away, whatever,
Hard to
whatever it
compete
is.
with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly, so now as that starts burning off, that's when we can get back into doing larger renovations, more impactful renovations. But at this point, like we have one of our properties that's in Gainesville, it's outside Atlanta, 157 units, and 102 of those units have been fully renovated, and then we have about 28, 29 of those that have been like partially renovated, right? And that's like, we're still doing a full renovation here and there. But the thing that was that if there's a lot of work that's required, that's when we're doing that. But mostly those other 30 or so units, what I just said, those ones are just coming in as they're coming in. We're doing whatever it takes to get them back on the market, and that's what we're doing. And we're being
Mhm.
able to keep like our occupancy there like 98% or something.
So
So
you're
I mean,
just those new units become available or the vacated units, you're just basically renting them out at the same price. Then you're just trying to get them filled up. You're not trying to bump up the rent on those ones necessarily.
we're bumping them up a little bit, but the amount of
Mm.
money we're putting in there is not like
It's
several
minimal.
$1,000s. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a couple $1,000. You know what I mean?
Got
That
it.
you're putting in
Yeah.
there, like you're painting them, you're fixing stuff that's in there, you're maybe updating a few different small things, hardware, some other stuff, whatever it might be. If you go into ones and they have major, which we've been lucky, that's probably not to have, but if we had like major issues, then we're going to go in there and do a full renovation. You know what I mean? Because at that
Yeah.
point, you might as well just do it. You know what I mean? You will capture that in that return at some point. It might not be what we usually, because usually what we'll do is when you're going in there, we have like a 36, 48 month return. So we go in there, and if we think we can get that money back in 36 months, we're going to do it. Even if you went over on costs, you're going to get it back in 48 months, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so the thing is that it makes your decision of what you're doing when you walk into your competitors across the street and you go, okay, this is it, or this over here, $1,500 to add in a washer where we are washer and dryer combo, where it is getting an extra $80 a month or $100 a month is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's easy. But the thing though is it comes into, when your renovations are now going over $10,000,
Yeah. When you're looking at
$12,000.
18 grand for a rental, like you're talking about there, where prices have tripled,
Yeah.
it's hard to justify that for sure.
Yeah, it's something where you're like, that's just like re-rent it and then you can keep someone in there. Or, why we just try to bring the rents up a little bit more to market if they're a little under, you know what I mean? Get that 3 to
Hmm.
5% rent increase, whatever it might be, keep the people in there. And that's what we did when we went through this. We were kind of prepping this for a refinancing. So we really made sure our occupancy was very high going through this. But there's a ton of stress out there. When we were talking to the mortgage broker for that property, he said we were the only deal he did in 2022 that got a cash out refinance.
Wow.
So that goes to show you. And, if anybody's ever looked at syndication paperwork or more than one or two of them, that that refinance is pretty much what all the returns are banking on. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
don't have
So,
the
so
refinancing,
again, you
yeah.
talked a few minutes ago about going back to your earlier mentor's philosophy of like that minimum 10-year hold, be willing to hold it onto it for 10 years. How does that change how you approach potential LPs and investors for your deals? Because everybody got so spoiled with these 2-year, 3-year, maximum 4 or 5 year kind of turnarounds, double your money, triple your money, blah, blah, blah of the heyday. How do you approach people, or who do you approach about investing in these kind of opportunities when you're looking at a much longer hold frame potentially?
Yeah, I would say on average, when we're telling investors, we're saying 5 to 7 years. I mean, that's usually what's going to come down to. The key, though, is making sure that you have debt that's going to be that 5, 7 years to 10 years. You know what I mean? That you're going to have that term on there with that's fixed, that you can bring to investors and show them. Because if,
Mhm.
the problem is that when you have stuff that's 2 years out, you know what I mean? People are getting floating stuff for 2 years or whatever it is, or 3 years, or they have a cap for 2 years and it's 3 years long, whatever it might be. I mean, that doesn't give you any time to,
Yeah.
maybe if you're flipping a house and you have that, you're gonna be fine, right? You're trying to get rid of it in a few months. But when you're doing a large apartment, I mean, there's lots of different income streams coming in there. There's market dynamics that change with everything. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can't control. And so when talking to investors, the thing is that, and we sold some properties in 3 years, 4 years. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're hitting the numbers, you're going to sell it. I mean, that's just silly. If you're not, we sold one property. We were putting on the market at the end of 2021 because we hit our numbers and we had investors who didn't want to sell, right? Well, they're happy when we sold in like April or something, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean, of
Yeah.
2022. No
Yeah.
one ever wrote back to me and said that was a stupid mistake. So, and that was nothing that we saw great. It's just you hit your returns. You told people,
Yeah.
return the
Now's the time.
capital, right? And you know what I mean? And we'll go to the next thing. The problem is that probably where people went with the next thing with that money, they probably got caught up in. But the
Yeah.
thing though is that what we've said is that I think when talking to investors, and my partner and I talk to, I mainly speak to new investors. But if it's myself or my partner doing the calls, it's something where you just lay it out. You know what I mean? We have a whole Dropbox folder that we share with all of our investors, and it has all of like our deals on there before, our track record, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I'm not ashamed. We've never lost money for an investor. We never had a capital call, but we have paused distributions, a couple
Mhm.
times on properties. And I mean, we're buying a business. You know what I mean? I think the problem was too is that you had a lot of investors that were sold getting an annuity, you know what I mean? And not really a real estate investment. Like put the money
Mhm.
in, you're going to double it in 5 years. And during that time, half or a third of those returns are going to come in distributable cash flow over the first.
Mhm.
And that's just not really how it works. I mean, you buy a property, and I always call it like the initial stabilization phase. And that's like the first 6 months, we really don't know exactly what's happening. You can do all your due diligence. People can tell me you're not doing enough due diligence, but you only do so much due diligence, and then you fix that by putting the reserve fund in more. You know what I mean? If there's
Yeah.
unknowns, because
Yeah.
like when we bought properties like in 2020, there was units we couldn't go into. So how do you fix that? Back then, we would put $10,000 a unit into the reserve, right? Because you had no idea what's going on behind
Yeah.
those
What's it
walls.
looking like? What's behind
Now it's going to
doors?
be probably twice that. But the thing though is that, being upfront with the investors, telling them that, our goal is to be out, you know what I mean, in 5 years, right? However, we have no idea the goal,
Mm.
so it's something that we never bring out, explain to people. I've had other, syndicators that I've past invested in. Oh, maybe you can sell your shares. We never offer that. We want people in there for the long term, and it's like 5 to 7 years, we would say. And then that's usually how we do when we do our performas, when we do out our investment memorandums. It's all in there, that 5 to 7 years, so they know that they're on with us. And there's a possibility it goes longer. But the thing though is that I think keep on saying that you weed out a lot of people, because I don't want
Mhm.
people calling me looking to sell. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, so it's
Yeah,
the old adage, right? Do your best to kind of under promise and over deliver.
yeah,
So if you can get the deal done and get everybody the returns in 4 years, you look like a hero. If it takes 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, that's what you told them in the first place.
yeah,
If it takes longer, heaven forbid, but if it does, which can happen, at least they're not going in blind. They were aware of that, and probably, I mean, you're communicating. It shouldn't come as a surprise to them. If it's getting towards year 6, 7, things aren't looking good. You're probably having those difficult conversations at that time.
yeah. And they'll see from the, all the different updates that we send out. We're very proactive with giving out information to our investors and doing calls with them, and sharing financials and everything like that. So it's not something that we're scared of doing. And it's just, I mean, it's difficult when you're telling people that, with one of our properties, like the one we had, we were just talking about in Gainesville. I mean, we have distributions, then we paused them, and then we
Mm,
restarted them and called up people. You know what I mean? When we refi. So that's not how every story goes, but it's also something like, that we had that money sitting in a reserve account, right? And we can distribute it, but we also don't know what's going to happen. There's
right.
no way of knowing what's going to happen. So when you're getting into anything that's unknown, I mean, you really have to conserve cash, and it's a difficult conversation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
To
Those
have with your
conversations
investors.
suck. So what are the plans for the rest of 2025, Charles? Where do you see your company going?
Yeah, so we're always looking for deals. Right now, we see that we've just with reviewing deals, we've just been seeing the spread of like 10 to 15% from our what our offers are and what sellers are asking. And I don't know, because you've seen a lot of these loans that were in issues, in trouble from 2021, 2022, and you're seeing a lot of the lenders like kick the can down the road. So it was I was
Really?
speaking to just like a pretend kind of extend type of thing. And I was speaking to a lender of a large bank here, actually PNC, one of the guys that he like heads up this area or the whole state or something like this, region, whatever it might be, for
Yeah.
their commercial. And he was just saying that we don't have and he was saying this as like we, as in multiple banks, don't have what we had in like 2008 for people going out and doing asset management. We don't have those people anymore, those
Mm,
teams. Because when we went through 2008, I mean, it was a bloodbath. So the thing though
yeah.
is that you had to have that if you're trying to like get every penny. Now you have it and you're extending it. But the thing though is people are like, oh, I'm in the deal, I'm an owner, whatever I am in the deal, and we're extending it, everything's gonna be fine. However, you don't know if that loan amount now hits of what you owe and what they can net out on the property. You don't know if that's when your extend is going to end. So this is just
Right.
like a holdout.
And they can pull the plug anytime they want if they're kind of extending it, right? That's the challenge too.
That's exactly, because they're not going to do it. I
Mm,
mean, one of the things they did, which I thought was a great approach, was that what they did in like 2009, 2010, and one of my contractors showed me, he had a workout of it, and he owed like 80,000 on his house. And they're like, okay, what we're doing is we're taking your mortgage right now of $80,000 and we're giving it to you for 40 years. So it was like his mortgage was like $300 a month, right? But
yeah.
that was something there. They're just like, we know this guy's not going to keep this house for 40 years, or we hope he
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't, right? So we're just hoping that he stays here for like 5 years, which is that he left in like 3 years, 4 years afterwards. But like until the market comes back, we're going to save on foreclosures. We're going to save on all this. You know what I mean? It's just
We're still gonna have some cash flow, and we've got an asset yeah,
right.
okay. So
So
you're thinking they're gonna do an extrapolated version of that for multifamily potentially.
I think that's what they've been doing with a lot of investors. And I
Mm,
think you hear the foreclosure properties you hear that have been really behind the eight ball, or you hear some other ones that have been like, you hear some other ones that have been like really poor quality assets. The
Mhm.
ones I've seen that went down first were like your poor quality C-class assets. And they are, I mean, that's just one of the things where you're not going to get huge rent increases. They look at that property and they say a C-class property and they go, this is the first to go down and this is the last
Yeah.
to go up, maybe behind D-class, but we're not talking about that. So, for stuff they lent on, and they're just like, so at this point, this is a long road ahead. We might as well just cut our losses, all the hassle we have, and then
Mhm.
put this, loan this money back out or whatever it might be. But the thing though is that I found that I just what I see going forward is that we're going to have a lot of deals out there that might come up once that your loan amount kind of hits what they can net out. I think that's going to be something where you're going to see those extensions not. And I've talked
Evaporating.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think talked to a lot of people in mentor groups, and that's there's a ton of people that have extensions on stuff now. Everything, a lot of
Yeah.
capital calls, a lot of extensions, and you're like,
Interesting,
when does it end? You know what
interesting
I mean?
times we're in. Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely, Charles. Um, Time flies when you're having fun, my friend. So if people are listening to this, they're going to realize that you're a smart guy. You know a lot about multifamily. You got lots of experience. If they want to connect with you, where should they go?
Yeah, if you're interested in what we're doing, go to harborsidepartners.com. And if you go to harborsidepartners.com, you can set up a call with myself or one of our other partners about passively investing. Or if you're interested in actively investing, learning more about that, you can go there as well. And look forward to speaking to you.
You can also find out more about your podcast.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Charles. It's been
Thank
a
you
lot
so
of fun.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.